For peace comes dropping slow. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin build there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honeybee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. When I was 19, in 2007, I studied abroad at an art school in the south of England and was privileged to get a trip to Ireland and find free and cheap things to do. In Dublin, the National Library of Ireland has a very in-depth exhibition on Yeats. There's even a little room where you can listen to Yeats reading out loud his poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree. At the age of 37 on Friday of this week, in 2025, I packed up some bags from my East Hollywood apartment to drive out to Vegas, where my friends Dina and Keith offered to host me to escape the toxic air quality. I live exactly 2 blocks from what was an evacuation zone. That is since lifted, thank goodness, meaning that one of the fires was very near to me. I have vocal nodes and a series of ENT problems these days, so I'm vulnerable in more ways than one, which made it a good idea to depart the city and a blessing that I had a free place to stay. Loading out and escaping feels complicated as a doer. My health problems are new as of last year. I'm usually a dig in my hands and help kind of person, but this time, I can't. That's a gross feeling that I struggle with as I start the engine. My partner James calls me immediately and asks if I'd like for him to read from our giant book of Hans Christian Andersen tales out loud during my drive. This is a tradition we have together on road trips. We take turns driving and reading to each other. I, a performer, find lots of joy in teasing my non-performer partner when we read. I ask him to go bigger with character voices, to read with fervor. On day 2 of vocal rest in the car, I don't say anything. I tap once for yes and twice for no when he asks me questions. And I try to clap audibly to express my appreciation of his labors in reading. More than anything, I am so grateful to have his company and grateful that he remembered how much I enjoy being read to. This isn't a request I would ask of him voluntarily. It isn't even something I would think of. When I stop for gas and hang up with James, abruptly, sorry, sugar, I am reminded of Yeats's voice. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. There midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. If anyone has been to this exhibition, I believe it's permanent, and sat down with Yeats, then you'll know that his reading is dramatic. It's Norma Desmond level iconic, as the youth of today might say. I had always understood his poem to be what everyone might think of this poem to be, a tale of wanting to leave the hustle of the city for some solitude and peace that can be found in nature. It's why people leave NYC to go live upstate. It's, understandable. But when Yeats reads it, it doesn't have that tone. Rather than a sweet narrative about escaping city life for nature, there's an absolute darkness to Yeats's voice. What I heard at age 19 and why I loved it so much was a sense that perhaps Innisfree isn't any better than Dublin. For peace comes dropping slow. Not slow in a cute way like some lily pad's movements in the water, but slow as in it barely comes. Peace almost never comes. As a young girl on her first trip abroad, her first time in the motherland, I closed my eyes and played the track again. As a not-so-young woman on a very undesired trip to Vegas, I think of Yeats while I squeegee my windows as the gas pumps, because him reading his own poem out loud in a way my big brother finds laughable, truly, made me feel closer to the text, made me love it. James tries to fully interpret Andersen's Thumbelina to me. I mean, what is this story all about, really? It is funny. He makes me laugh. quietly. I get back in my car, I call my partner back, and I don't say a word. He just continues reading. I am not able to vocalize my laughter. I just clap when I feel joy, like a kid. During the 2 years of my sister-in-law's miserable experience of stage 4 cancer, James and I flew to Ohio quite a bit. Our first order of business was always to sweep right over to my niece's. At the start of Molly's sickness, Nora was a little over a year old and Fiona was a whopping 4 years old. They were little. So it was our prerogative, first and foremost, to bring them joy, to make them laugh, to dress up in dumb costumes, to act ridiculous so that they'd laugh. We'd, perform for them. And we'd perform for Molly. When Molly went in to have one of her many surgeries, I stayed home with my family while James escorted Molly, fully dressed in his Liger suit. As legend has it, the hospital staff would ask Molly if James was her husband or her brother, and she'd reply, "He's my Liger." And so, it wasn't just the children who needed the laughter. I will arise and go now, for always night and day. I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's gray. I hear it in the deep heart's core. When I arrived at Dina's home that night, before I could even text or ring a bell, she ran out in front of my parked car. The desert temperature changes quick, and I am a sucker in the cold, so I kept the lights on her while I layered up in my seat. The entire time, lit by my headlights, Dina danced. She's a performer herself, and I don't know the extent of her training, but being a Vegas artist, surely there's some clown skills and some choreography experience and, showgirl vibes that she threw her body into on that Friday night. I laughed. I tried to get my coat on quickly. I couldn't. She didn't stop dancing. She wasn't speaking because she knew I wouldn't be speaking. She was just dancing. In the face of so much sadness and misery in 2025, amidst my hot tears that haven't dried from the loss of my sister on Christmas Day in 2023, boy, do I understand Yeats. I will arise and go now. I will. I will live another day as long as I'm able, and I will try. I will strive for that peace, though I weep for my neighbors in LA, as I did for my creative community in Asheville. I will advocate for climate justice and for justice for Palestinians and for my Black siblings and for my trans siblings and for anyone who needs an abortion, for everyone abused by our healthcare system, and knowing why Luigi did what he did, and knowing that our president-elect would never be truly punished as a convicted felon, my deep heart's core breaks. It is a solemn truth. I get out of the car and hug my friend. I'll never hear Anderson's voice, but his stories live in me through James. I feel better that I am here in Vegas. I feel sad that I am here in Vegas. I feel anxious and deeply on edge. I feel dread. I feel depressed. I am so afraid of the future for Los Angeles and the future of all of us. I am so cared for by my friends and lovers. But sleep does not come easy that night, which is understandable. For peace comes dropping slow.